Yeah, very good day everyone. I'm happy to meet you in another video. And this video we are going to see about as a HSE professional what kind of work you will do in any company. Okay, so there are two major roles. First one is documentation. Okay, so what kind of documentation you will do? So first, what is documentation? Documentation is a written procedure or else written record or else it's a record. Okay, this documentation will give you a solid proof when there is some conflict in your working area, or else it's give you some idea, or else it give the third person some idea about some process. Okay, so this is documentation, and there are so many documentation being followed by the safety professional in many workplaces. I will talk about this the whole I will explain about all the documentation work in the future videos. And this video we are going to see about what is the advantage of using this documentation work. Okay, and the next one is continuous supervision. So documentation work, as I said earlier, you will do, plus you have to do the supervision work as well. Okay, because with the help of documentation you are not going to implement all the HSE procedure in your workplace. You have to continuously supervise the workplace as well, because as the work moving, the worker tends to forget, or else because of the peer group pressure or else their work pressure, they tend to forget some control measures or HSE procedure. So in those kind of situation, you should be the one there and keep reminding them how they can complete the work in a very safe manner. Okay, so totally your two major activities will be documentation work and continuous supervision in any company. Wherever you go, you have to do this too. Okay, so let's move to other slide. The first one is documentation. Okay, what is the use of documentation? So written documentation for the work parties understanding. In the workplace, if you are already a HSE professional, mean you must follow the permit to work. If you are a fresher, mean just imagine it's like a permit to the working party. Okay, this permit will be issued from the HSE department, and this permit will be signed by or acknowledged by the project manager, HSE manager, and the HSE officer, and then the supervisor. Okay, so if any working parties want to do any particular activity in some area, mean they have to come to the HSE department first. Then they have to ask for the permit to work, that is permit. Then once they fill up all the details, and they have to get the acknowledgement from the project engineer, then HSE manager. After that, the supervisor or foreman, he will bring the permit to work in the working area, and he will inform that to the HSE officer. Once the HSE officer assesses the area, he will write down his command, and based on his command, the supervisor will act with this team. So once the supervisor put in place all the control measure, he can get the signature from the HSE officer, then he can start the work. Then another advantage is to maintain a record. How often accident will happen in a project or in a workplace? We don't know. We never know when the accident will happen. So if anything happens in your workplace, mean you should have any solid proof, like communication was gone, or else communication was delivered from your end to working party. So in these kind of scenarios, you can use the documentation as a record. I will give you an example. Like one worker, he is working on a scaffold, and somehow he fall from the scaffold. Okay, the main reason is that he didn't wear any full body harness or any other harness at all. So when when the accident investigation happened, definitely the investigator will come to you. He will ask for the record. Okay, so at that time, if you have any toolbox talk record, normally in the toolbox talk, you have to explain about the work activity. Like if it's a worker type, mean you can, or else if it's a scaffold, mean you can explain about the activities. What kind of steps they have to take for the better safe procedure, or else precautionary measures they have to take before they start the work. Okay, so this kind of thing you can explain in the TBT, toolbox track record. Okay, so you have to keep the toolbox track record, or else daily task briefing. Daily task briefing should be given by the safety officer or safety professional to all the worker before the beginning of the daily work activity. Okay, so once you finish this daily briefing, you can get the signature from all the workers. Then supervisor, if there is no supervisor, if there is a foreman or any charge and mean, you can get their signature as well, acknowledging that they are fully aware of the hazards and risks that they will face during the work activity. So you can use that daily briefing or else toolbox talk as a record. Okay, so if any terrible accident or any incident or any near miss happened in your workplace mean, you can use that record as an evidence, so that even if there is any action against your side mean, you can save yourself. So you should keep this in mind, because in your career, professional career, you may face this. Okay, so it's really important to keep up all the record in order to face this kind of difficult situation. Is to follow the workflow. So in the permit to work section, there will be one table for the activity. Okay, activity that working party is going to do and the location that the working party is going to work. Okay, so in the activity section they will write everything about the activity that they are going to do and the location also. So with the help of these two, the HSE department can estimate like on what level that area is. Likewise, if any working party is going to do the concrete casting work in some particular area means, they can estimate like concrete casting is going to be done. After that they will do the de-shuttering work. Once de-shuttering finished, they will do all the concreting work. So that's how the HSE department can estimate the workflow. So based on this workflow, they also can pre-arrange safety related material. So this is how you can exploit the permit to work record. There are so many other documents as well, but this is just an example only. Okay, the next point is to avoid the legal action. So as I said earlier, when some terrible things happen in any workplace, you will be the one take all the blame on yourself. Okay, mostly all of the work professional will put a blame on you, because when some accident happen, they will not think about any other person, they will only think about the HSE department. Okay, so in those kind of situation, you want to save yourself mean you should use a record. You should keep the record with yourself. The record means documentation. I hope you understand, because previously also I explained you have to keep the record with you. You have to continuously update it, and you have to communicate all the records to the working parties as well. You have to get their signature as well. Okay, so to avoid this legal action also, documentation is mandatory. Okay, yeah, for the benchmarking and KPIs you can use the documentation. Benchmarking, we know we have to compare our current performance with the previous performance, or else we can compare our performance with some other company's performance. For the ISO or OSA certification, so when the audit happens, they would definitely go through all your documentation work. So I would definitely recommend you to keep update your documents on daily or in a regular interval of time as per the frequency, so that the company also can get ISO or OSA certification. So if the company get this certification, the more possibility for getting a client is really high. So you can use the documentation for this certifications purpose as well. Okay, let's move to our next section, supervision. So I told you there are two major works you will do. Documentation work, we just saw about the documentation work's advantage, and the next one is supervision work for the work monitoring. So as I said earlier, you have to monitor all the work. As a HSE professional, you will be assigned to one area. If you are HSE manager, mean you will looking after the whole project or the whole workplace. If you are HSE officer or junior HSE officer or senior HSE officer, mean you will be assigned to one area or else in one location. So there you will be looking after all the activities. Okay, so you can find so many working parties can perform their work in some particular area. You have to be there all the time and you have to continuously monitor all their work, because as the workflow going fast, sometimes the workers may not think about the safety. Okay, so in those kind of situation, you should be the one instructing them to follow the safety procedure. Okay, next one is to ensure all control measures are in place. So as HSE professional, you will instruct the working parties to take some control measure before they commence their work. But in some cases, it will be not possible to put in place all the control measures. So at those situations, you have to be there to monitor the work. If the situation is really critical, mean you can stop the work and you can advise the working party to take the necessary step before they restart the work. Okay, so that purpose you have to be there. Then the next point is to ensure work is carried out in a safe manner. So how one work can carried out in a safe manner? There are so many aspects that you have to discuss about. So work can be carried out in a safe manner if the workers are really trained. And trained mean training, proper external training should be given based on the activities that worker is doing. The workers can be certified, proper certification that worker should possess, and the work instruction should be given to the worker. Proper supervision is also required. Proper PPE should be given. Is to ensure accident free work. Of course, if you implement all the HSE control measure, or else if you are running the workplace in a very safe manner, you can definitely avoid the accident, or else you can reduce the possibility for the accident. Okay, next one is to ensure all after work measures are in place. So as HSE officer, it's not your, here you have to note down after work measures, right? So I will give you some example. Like a worker is performing some welding activities and he left as he finished the job. So some sparks are still there, but it's not extinguished. This spark can cause a fire accident. Okay, I hope this example, I hope this example is clear. Like you have to be in the workplace, or else you have to assign one person, or else you can inform to the second shift or third shift safety professional regarding about the work activity. Then you can leave the working area. Okay, or else you can assign some person from the working party to be there for 15 minutes or 20 minutes after the work finish, because any if because if there is any hazards, mean definitely we will come to know within 50 or 20 minutes. We can react accordingly. So after work measures also important when it comes to supervision. Okay, so this is the end of the section. I hope this video is really helpful. Next class we are going to discuss more elaborately about all the documentation work. So please be ready for that. Have a good day. Thank you.